within academia and within certain geographies, it can feel like it's critical for you to follow the path that everyone around you is following. And then you get outside of those areas and you realize no one really cares.
No, yeah.
I mean, if you're just doing something you're interested in and if you're passionate about it, it doesn't even matter what it is. It could be like, I study this microscopic bug on petri dishes in a lab in Minneapolis, and this is what I'm learning. And people will be like, wow, what? Well, like viruses, or like, what is it? And do they ask you, did you get a PhD before you studied that bug? I mean, like, you want to follow what really brings you to life. And sometimes it's not clear because it's noisy out there. People are telling you what to do.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I've got to stay true to yourself. And I don't know, I think you've reiterated that in a lot of your questions, is just like listen to your inner voice, which I think more people definitely need to hear, because even like the pressure of parents,
yes,
and you know, they're always looking out for you, but
yes,
sometimes
they want the best.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's like you got to make your own mistakes and your own decisions.
Correct. And they had to do the same thing, and they faced those pressures too. And at the end of the day, no one wants you to be hungry or unable to pay your rent or to be depressed or injured or ill.
Yeah.
But if you're not in any of those categories and you're paying your rent and you're not living hand to mouth and you have loved ones around you, that's the most important thing there is. And so we tend to focus on the career as being the provider of all of that, but it's one dimension of many. And it can be a dimension where more doors get open because you enter it. And I think conservation is that way. Once you're in this field, there are so many other doors to open, whether it's the climate or animal species or water or air and pollution or arsenic. I mean, it's like kind of endless. And which ones are you going to walk through, and which ones are you going to come back out and go, never mind, I thought I would like that, but that's not my tribe, or those aren't my people.
Could you maybe talk to us a little bit about bringing together purpose and value into your career and how you really stay true to your core values in, you know, whatever field of work you do?
I think it's really hard to sometimes hear the small voice in your head or in your heart that knows what it wants you to do with your life, or that knows which path to pursue. So it can take some time, and certainly the first 1 or 2 or even 3 jobs out of college may not be the dream job, or the job that fulfills you, or the job that aligns your values with your heart, with your passions. And so in a way, it's okay to have maybe a kind of cruddy first job, or a job that you thought it was going to be better and it really wasn't that great. And for me personally, I thought I wanted to be a reporter. I was going to move to Washington, D.C. I was going to report on environmental issues, or even like maybe hopefully art issues, humanities. Maybe I'd be like a critic or art critic. I had all these ideas. I just wanted to write, get my byline out there, publish. And I did get a job as a reporter. And the first few months were really hard, and not hard for me personally to learn the craft, because I was starting to get the hang of it. I just wasn't that happy. And I kept thinking, well, isn't this what I wanted? Isn't this what I've been trying to do by being the editor-in-chief of my college newspaper? And isn't this what I thought I wanted? So I think it's actually those steps maybe in the wrong direction that inform the correct or the better direction for you and what you really want to achieve. And so I would say, don't worry about getting a perfect grade right out of college, and realize that the workplace isn't the same as the classroom or your university or your research institution. That all the things that made you an A student actually don't matter as much in the workplace. You could be a C+ student and be probably one of the best reporters in Washington, D.C. And I realized having good grades was not going to actually make me a very good reporter. So I did buckle down. I tried to learn the craft, and I soon realized I didn't enjoy it. Why? I wasn't sure. So I had to get quiet and really listen to myself and go on some long walks and talk to people who had been there before. And I found a mentor by accident, and she said to me one day, well, what do you like to do in your free time that really gives you a lot of joy that you would gladly do for free? And immediately I said, I love going to animal shelters, and I love helping animals, and I love seeing the dogs available. And she said, that doesn't bum you out? And I said, well, of course it's sad, but I like being around animals. And she said, well, Kristine, you're a reporter right now. Why don't you consider being a grant writer for a nonprofit that raises money for animals? And I had no idea you could even do that, or I thought you had to be trained to do that or a special degree. And she said, you can write. Therefore, you're somebody that they want. And she was absolutely correct. In the nonprofit sector, if you can write, there are lots of jobs for people who can put pen to paper or type up a proposal, a letter of inquiry, a grant application, a marketing pitch, a presentation deck. There's sort of endless opportunities. And so I think in the end, finding your way by maybe making some stumbles may not feel efficient, but gets you to listen to that inner voice that says, it's animals, it's writing, it's wildlife. And ultimately, that's what helped me to find my path to the nonprofit sector.
From my experience in talking with friends and stuff, and even my own individual experience, like that's something that we're still trying to kind of figure out, is how do you say yes to like really cool and exciting opportunities that might not necessarily align with your values without like steering clear from them.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes you just can't know. All the good thinking, all the good pros and cons list, talking to 25 people, and you still don't know. And it's like, well, do I just go for it? Just go for it. And what's the downside? And maybe you'll regret it, actually. But regrets are the basis of different choices that you get to make after. So I almost feel like it's not a bad thing to have a regret or to be like, oh, that 3-month internship wasn't that great, actually. And then you start looking around and realizing, especially I think in the early part of one's career, that there are people 10, 20, 30 years older than you that actually don't know what they're doing. And you think, gosh, they're so experienced. I thought they would be really good at this, or I thought they'd be a great manager, and wow, they're abusing me, or they're making me feel terrible, or they just yelled at my colleague in front of everyone. And you just can't fathom this. It's like, wow, I'm younger and I'm seeing this, and I thought they were better than that. And so I always thought if someone was older, it meant they were smarter and wiser and better than me. But that's actually not the case. Leaders can be any age. You can be a leader right where you are, and you may not have power yet because you're early in your career, but you can take the power you have and shape it as you go. And so I grew in my career because people left the job, and I would be approached to take over that job or to fill in for that person until we found someone new. And so I just kept growing by just being there, which is, I think, pretty common for a lot of people in nonprofits. There is high turnover sometimes because it's very stressful. It's not easy to care for the earth. It's not easy to reduce poverty. It's not easy to treat children for cancer or whatever nonprofit you're working for. These are really tough societal problems. But it's great that every day you get to do that you get to be a part of that solution. Instead of seeing it and wishing it were taken care of, you're part of the care, the system of care for that issue.